Hi guys, welcome to Talking Mental Health with me, Joe, and tonight I'm joined by a good friend of mine, Atika. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Very
I
well,
always
thank
smile when I say friend of mine because I feel like I've known you forever and I hardly ever see you, but we
you.
have
I know,
known each other for quite a long time, haven't we?
I know, absolutely, absolutely. I was thinking about that today and thinking, we 10 years this December,
Mhm.
November, and November. And I know that seems like miles away still, but
Yeah, yeah.
still.
No, yeah, I mean, yeah, like it was what just over 9 years ago, but it doesn't feel that long ago. But I still remember how we met, and I'll never forget how we met. I'm gonna give everybody a bit of a backstory actually of how we met because people won't have a clue.
No,
So we,
absolutely, absolutely.
so I was living in New Jersey, and me and three of my friends went to watch the Christmas light switch on in New York, and you were there with your cousin, and
Yes, absolutely.
we were basically stuck in the same pen for about 6 hours, weren't we? And it was like, "Oh, are you English? Oh, are you English? Yeah, hello, we're English too." And then that was pretty much how we met, wasn't it?
Absolutely. That was exactly pretty much it. Yeah, absolutely. We'd
I was,
wandered over from the Red Door Salon on Fifth Avenue in
okay.
flip flops in the freezing November winter in New York City. And yeah, yeah, it was a fun
Brilliant.
time.
Yeah, good memory. Good memory. Good way to meet someone completely random. So, how's life? How's everything going? How's everything since lockdown last year been?
Um, it's been up and down. I think it's been like what it has been for everyone else. I think, when it first started off in March last year, it felt like, that whole solidarity thing. Everyone's in it together and
Hmm.
we kind of had this kind of timeline and it was 2 weeks off school, 2 weeks of Easter. And then we thought, right, we'll see where we are after that. And homeschooling, we were given a 2 week pack, but it was kind of fluid and it was very much about looking after the mental health of our kids,
Hmm.
and that was the focus. And then after Easter holidays, we were still in lockdown. And for me personally, we just rolled. It was the end of that week. We were about to go into Ramadan. So it kind of like, it was like, oh, okay, do you know, we can adapt to this. We've got 4 weeks of Ramadan coming up. So it just flowed. And again, school was very much a fluid concept in the sense of everyone was so concerned about kids' mental health and their welfare, and especially because my kids or eldest is in primary school and not of an exam age, it was very much so, an easy homeschooling situation. However, this time around, November's lockdown doesn't really count. Schools were
Hmm.
still open. They were going. It wasn't a problem. This one, I think this one has first week, I remember by the time we got to Friday, I must have cried myself like about, I thought it was a daily thing. And it's still, I mean, okay, so this is week 3, and it's a case of, okay, I haven't had a crying episode yet, but today's only Monday. But it's exhausting. It's exhausting. Ariana's 7, my youngest Serena, she's 3. So I don't have near the troubles that some parents must have. Kids
Hmm.
who are in secondary school or secondary and primary and end of year and exams. And I'm a stay-at-home parent, so I don't even have the stresses of work. And you just think what people must be going through right now when the the focus is to educate the children. It's no longer about their mental health. It's no longer about the fact that we've taken them out of what they're used to. It's now solely about educate them, educate them, educate them. Like if they miss a year, suddenly they're gonna, I don't know, fall off the radar or something. It's just,
Yeah.
but it's good. It's good because it gives structure to the day. It's good because it gives Ariana something to hold on to in the sense of she sees her friends every day online. School have kind of really understood to go, okay, on the on the Friday they do like a show and tell, and they give each kid an opportunity to talk about what they are doing.
Hmm.
Um, so I think in that sense, it's been good, but it has its challenges to say the least.
Yeah. Does Ariana struggle with like Zoom fatigue at all? Because I've
Yeah,
spoken to a lot of young people and they say they're really struggling with just being online all day, every day.
I think with the way that Ariana's school has done it has been that she literally has one call in the morning at 9:45 because the whole school is obviously doing it. They've segregated at the time. She has one call in the morning at 9:45. That sets out the plan for the day, and then a second call at 1:15. Hers is quite early in the day, and then that sets out the afternoon work, and then that's it. She doesn't get any more calls.
Right.
So it isn't online lessons like I know it is for other year groups, and I can imagine that is very onerous. But hers isn't. Like I said, primary school is, I think, is a different beast to secondary, and the latter years, obviously, for primary school as well.
Mhm. And is that so after the first call in the morning, in between that call and the second call, is it then pretty much on you and her to just sit
Yeah,
down and do the work, yeah?
yeah, pretty much. That's exactly it. And bless, I'm fortunate my husband's home, so he can mind Serena, or Serena has now also adapted to the fact, okay, Ariana's working, so she sits down and I'll give her a book and she'll then be colouring or whatever, or painting or whatever, and she gets the fact that this is going on, and she'll wander off and do her own thing. But yeah, the onus is very much on Ariana and I kind of cracking on. And I'm very lucky. Ariana's massively conscientious. She's very capable, and she kind of like cracks on and understands what is being asked of her. I think the challenges for some parents out there who may have a child who isn't as sharp, who needs that extra coaching, who needs that
Mhm.
guidance from an actual teacher, trained professional. You know, it's not just they walk into school one day and start teaching, they're trained to do this.
Mhm.
And so I'm lucky I've got a kid who gets it and likes it and enjoys it. But come Friday, she's exhausted as well. And
Yeah.
for some really bizarre reason, well, it's not bizarre, I understand it. On Fridays is the pinnacle day of their workload, and they have to complete the biggest thing that they've been working towards on the Friday.
Right.
So it's like they're exhausted and they have to do it in the morning. And I swear, every 2 Fridays now, and Ariana starts it at 10 past 10 by the time her call's finished. And she doesn't finish till about 12:30 because it's always a writing piece. And she's really particular, and she takes her time and she writes really well. If she makes a mistake, she'll start a new page and she'll start all again. It's like, okay, babe, you don't have to start every time.
Mhm.
Let's just continue, just put a line through, and she gets distracted. She's 7, of course she gets distracted. Her little sister comes along. So what a piece of work that potentially in class, I know it's interesting though, because now I think on Friday she says to me normally, oh, I didn't finish a piece of work, but I did really well. I'm always like, oh, okay. But now I understand, having sat with her, obviously they have a certain amount of time to do it,
Mhm.
that she gets bored. She's like, okay, it's the same work. I've been doing it for the last however long, and I now need to just move on and do something else. But that isn't what she can do. So yeah, it's definitely something that I won't miss.
Yeah.
Teaching.
Yeah, that wasn't something any parent signed up for really, was it? Homeschooling
No, absolutely.
kind of come out of the blue. So what do you guys do for, like, for their social interaction? Because I guess that's a big thing that kids are missing now. They're not around their friends all day, every day. What do you guys do for them to?
Well, I previous to this, because when Ariane turned 5, I had her first birthday party with her friends because she'd been in school for 2 years by that point.
Mhm.
1 year, sorry. And so I'd gotten a few friends' numbers, and we've always maintained that contact. So we've now got a WhatsApp group of about 6 friends, the mums as well. It's great for me as a mum and the other mums that we've got each other to have that kind of conversation with. And it's Ariana has that, so she'll ring her friends after school, usually around 4, anywhere between 4 and 6, so they're all talking to each other, and there'll be a WhatsApp group going on, and they're either playing, I don't know, charades, or they're playing some other game, and they're just having that conversation. Apart from that, with interaction with their friends, we're making a point of trying to get out for a walk, but this weather doesn't lend itself to going out that much. But again, I'll say that I'm in a lucky position. I've got two kids of the same sex who get on with each other and like the same kind of things and are happy with their imaginative play. So it's doing wonders for their relationship this time. The two sisters are just absolutely, yeah, tear strips of each other like any siblings do. But at the same time, they really enjoy playing. Like just earlier, they'd pulled off all the cushions from the sofa and created, apparently it was a pool, and then Serena had found a massive piece of tinsel and decorated the pool, and she's like, this is lights, and all their toys are inside, and there's constantly dens being made and everything of that nature. So
Mhm.
it's just kind of, it's keeping it creative. That's what I can't I can't do. Let's go out and meet your friends. I can't do the let's go to the park and play with randoms, because I don't think that kind of goes against it. Playgrounds are open, and it kind of goes against the whole thing. They can't be at school with their friends, but they can play with a complete stranger in a playground. So that doesn't make sense. So I keep them away from that. And so instead, I just try and do creative stuff at home.
Mm. Yeah, and that's so important, isn't it? Like letting them have that time to just play and just learn and grow in their own special way rather than something that's completely structured. And I know we've talked about that before. Like you are very open to just letting them be and
Yeah,
letting them be children rather than just kind of raising these robots, I guess I would describe it as, because I think we see that so often, don't we? Like everything, well, not everything, but like 99% of things now for kids are structured. And it's like, okay,
yeah,
this is how you go and play. Whereas I know you're very just go play, go figure it out, go enjoy yourself.
yeah. Well, it's right down to, I know it sounds daft, but Kinder toys, when the toys, Kinder eggs, and they open the toy, it's a natural reaction for the kid to go, "How do I do this, mum?" And now Ariana just doesn't even ask. Ariana's like, "Oh, I'm putting this together," and she sits there and puts it together. And Serena loves Lego and building things. She's quite naturally um, lends herself to an engineer's viewpoint, that she always wants to build and create and see how she can do things. Ariana is more creative on the arts and crafts side, so she's always wanting to color, and she's got a little sewing machine, and she's like doing things there. Just yesterday, um, it was Sully's birthday. He was 4 years old, so I threw Sully a party, and we made party food. We had sandwiches, we had biscuits, we had cake. I had a little bit, put a candle in a cake, and we got out all of our paper plates and everything, and just went. You spent the morning with me cleaning, dusting. I was the wicked stepmother in the morning, and then by lunchtime I chilled back into let's play.
Mm.
And it's full on 24/7. Like even
Mm.
at night, there's that. Even though Ariana's 7, so many people that I've spoken to, all of Ariana's friends' mums, and even from within family, everyone's talking about how their kids' sleep is disturbed ever since November's lockdown.
Right.
It hasn't been something that since March. It's over the last couple of months that we've all seen our kids' sleep be disturbed, and that they're waking or they're saying, "Can you sleep with me? I don't want to sleep on my own. I'm scared." And Ariana has a thing that she started to say, "Are you going to leave me?" I got the sniffles the other day. Literally, I was sneezing because it was cold. And as she went to bed, she looked at me and she went, "Mom, are you okay?" And I was like, "Baby, I'm fine. I've just got the sniffles. It's nothing to worry about." And it's so harrowing to see that kind of, that their behavior has changed because they can't control what's happening outside.
Mm.
And so their response is, "I need comfort, I need comfort, I need
Yeah.
comfort," which I'll give in bucket loads, but there's only so much energy you have. And that's why I end up crying every single day, because it's like it allows, I guess I always see it allows the negative energy to flow out of
Mhm.
me.
Yeah, no, that's a good thing, but that must be so disconcerting as a parent to see
No.
your child's behavior change through something that you can't control and through something they can't control either. It's no fault of anybody's. It's just how the world
Yeah.
has adapted, and they're having to change to whatever's going on outside.
It's how they're processing. It's like
Mm.
I when this started in November, what happened was during that lockdown, her class bubble went into isolation. And it was the first time her class bubble since September had ever experienced that. And it was toward the end of that isolation, when she was due to go back to school, that this sleep started to get disturbed. And I thought to myself, what's wrong? Is Ariana, she's quite a sensitive soul. So I thought maybe it's just her, that she's just being extra sensitive to the situation, and she's just worried and blah, blah, blah. And then I happened to mention it to one of her mum's friends, and she went, "Oh my God, that's so strange. It's funny you say that. That's exactly what so and so's done." And then another one, "Yeah, that's what so and so." Oh, and my other daughter crawls into bed with my elder one now because they're. And I was like, okay. So then it was that realization that actually I'm not alone. It's
Mhm.
actually a behavior that so many kids are probably experiencing. And I was on a Facebook group called Big Family Neighborhood or whatever it is, and on that one, there's so many people talking about their 7-year-old, 6-year-old kids, or 8-year-old kid, 9-year-old kid who's having trouble sleeping, and they're looking for comfort, and they're trying, oh, this teddy bear, or they're trying a nightlight, or they're trying this. Me being me, just I'll climb into bed with her. You sleep with me, because if that's what you need to feel
Mhm.
confident again, to feel that I'm not going anywhere, well, then I'll sleep with you. We'll get through these years. And I've never been one of those people who goes, "Oh, oh, but if you sleep with your kids, they're going to want to sleep with you till, throughout. Yeah, because 18-year-olds climb into bed with you. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. And it's like, we'll get over this period. But right now, she needs me. And that's why it's 24/7. But it's a choice that I make it, that it's 24/7 for me, because I think if I'm going to worry in the other room, I might as well lie next to you and sleep. And therefore, we're all good and everyone's good.
Because we've had that
Uh,
conversation before, haven't we, about how you are so loving and caring with your kids, and you're not of the opinion that if you sort of love them too much, that they will then become dependent on you. Like we've talked about that so many times, haven't we? How you can still give the kids what they need while they're looking for it when they're younger, because if you don't, surely in the long run they're going to
yeah,
resent you more than they are if
absolutely.
you actually give it to them.
I mean, I I always see, like, there are friends of mine whose kids, and my kids have, I would say, sleep issues. Like, they don't sleep that well. And I'm critical of it because I think, oh, it's a failing on me. But actually, they do sleep fine. They sleep totally fine. The fact is, when I'm saying Ariana doesn't sleep well, it's only because of this period that her
Mm.
sleep has gotten disturbed. And ever since I've started sleeping with her, she sleeps through. It's me who can't sleep because I'm not used to sleeping to someone who talks in their sleep. So she'll say something random and shout out in the middle of her sleep, and I'm like, oh my God. So it's got nothing. She sleeps perfectly fine. She wakes up bright as a button, and so does Serena. But I constantly feel like, because of the judgment, because of the, that's exactly what you've said, that I think other people talk about, oh, how their kids sleeping in their own room, it's not a problem, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, she's got her own room, but right now she's going through something, and
Mm.
I'd rather be there. And then I always think, how is a kid going to be that dependent on you if in every other aspect in the daytime you have made them so independent and raring, Ariana's been peeling and chopping potatoes and vegetables and she was probably 4 because I've been getting her to do these things. Just earlier, Ariana went out with Saka, my husband, to the shops to get some stuff for me. And I had Serena peeling garlic with me. And a part of it was just so she can get the motor skills. There
Mm.
you are, you can do this, and get the concentration on something that isn't TV, that isn't coloring, something that's different, and just give her something different to do. And she loves getting the spice tin and putting in the spices in my curries and whatnot. And she just helps out. But that's because I don't make them chores, I just make them, that's what we do.
Mhm.
Oh, come in here. I need the dishwasher emptied. It's not like, oh, it's 6 o'clock on a Friday. You need to do this. It's not regimented, as you say.
Mhm. Yeah, and
Mm.
that's interesting you mentioned that about TVs and stuff. Are you big on giving them a phone or an iPad when they need to be occupied, or do you try and occupy them in different ways?
Um, I, I'll be honest. I was influenced a lot by family and how they raise their kids. We didn't have kids in my maternal household. I was the first one to have kids, and being never a kid person before, I'd never really known. I'd never read kids' books. I'd never read parenting books. None of that. It wasn't my gig. And suddenly, I had kids, and I kind of just went with what I felt was the right thing to do.
Mhm.
And around me, I had a lot of people who used to give the phone. And I remember Ariana got to 2.5, and I noticed her behavior getting really, really aggressive. And I just went, right, no phone. And I took the phone away, and I thought, that's what's making it. And I saw her behavior so quickly change from I realized how much just sat glued to a phone watching
Mm.
YouTube all the time was having on her behavior. But when we were going out to restaurants, when we were going out and you're amongst people, my kids are very much like me, that they're not natural people. Well, they are. I mean, that's wrong to say it, but they're more introverted,
Mm.
so they take a little while to warm up to people. So therefore, they like to be in their little bubble and stay closed, and only approach those people that they feel comfortable approaching. And so when we're out in a group, I'll do it because it helps them settle. I'll give them a phone to help them settle. Now when we're home, um, with Serena, it has always been, when it comes to food time, she loves to watch something, like she loves watching while she's eating. However, in the last couple of weeks, what's helped is by having Ariana home, she's got that same kid mentality at the table, that suddenly the TV is not that interesting. What's interesting is the conversation and the jibes and the jokes and the I'm eating quicker than you and this, that, and the other. And it's as she's getting older and that relationship's building. So I'm like, if you need it, use it. if you're good enough to not use it, great, crack on, do what you need to do. But when you're home alone and you're trying to get the laundry done and get the cooking done and get shopping to put away and everything else, and your kids there, and you just go for the easy, you will go for the easy option. It's not always as easy to sit down and let's interact with you 100% of the time.
Mm. That's so interesting that you noticed that change in behavior, because I've watched documentaries and I asked this of a lot of people, like, their opinion on giving kids phones and iPads, or would you rather just them play with their
Yeah,
sister or with their brother or whoever? And people are very mixed. Like, like you said, sometimes it's not possible to
yeah.
keep them occupied and you have got stuff to do yourself. And if you're on your own with two children, then there might have to be that option. But I always think it's interesting because everyone has their own opinion. I don't think there's any right or wrong answer, but I
You
guess
know what?
whatever works for you.
I think the thing is, like, because iPhones and iPads. So I only have my iPhone, and we've got a tablet in the house somewhere, but that's literally used for journeys. Otherwise, it's not used. And even that, I say that we haven't used that um, in a journey. We always have it charged, but it hasn't been used over the last few journeys. But anyway, the phone, because it's mine, they literally get like a 15-minute window. And Serena is renowned for going, Mum, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. And she doesn't have no concept of time. It's just 2 minutes. I'm like, okay, you can have 2 minutes. And but the TV, I have the TV on often, a lot more than I have my phone. But the difference with what I put on the TV, and I guess because the phone they can scroll and choose themselves, where the TV I then select what I want and stick the
Hmm.
remote somewhere else. Serena's very much about dinosaurs, which is a great topic. So there's on Netflix, there's Walking with Dinosaurs in the kids bit. There's also Camp Cretaceous, which is like a spin-off of Jurassic Park and everything. And she loves watching Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. And then on YouTube, there's loads of learning dinosaur videos and that kind of thing. And so they love watching those. And I watch the programs to go, which ones influence your behavior, how. Like there's one at the moment that they like, and it's a sibling, a brother and sister, and it's cute, but it's also very much having little tantrums. So I've curbed off that one because I was seeing that in their play they were starting to do it, and starting to do it in real life as well. And I went, hang on a minute, no, that behavior is not what I like, so let's stop watching that and let's switch back to nursery rhymes, things that you're learning from.
Hmm. Oh, I like that. Yeah, good parenting.
Thank you.
So I
So
wanted
what's
to
that one?
I just wanted to go back because you said right at the beginning about Ramadan and how the
Yes.
girls were off school and then you had to adapt to that situation.
Hmm.
What was that like for you guys as a family, having to adapt to doing Ramadan in essentially in a lockdown?
Um, I'll be honest, I really enjoyed it. I've historically, I've been in Manchester now 7 years. Yeah, 7 years, and we've always had an extended family. But as Ramadan moves, as it does through the year, as it does every year, 10 days comes 10 days earlier. When it's been in the peak summer and we've had kids, breaking your fast at sunset is usually around 9:30 in the evening. So we weren't really mingling with going round to our family's houses anyway to break fast together because it was so late in the evening and the kids had school the following day. I wasn't pulling them off their routine and going, no, you can't. I was, it was a case of we weren't going to do that. So what was nice this time was actually they were home because they weren't going to school. We were in lockdown. We were home. And so Ariana was experiencing what she'd been wanting to do. And it was the perfect age as she was 6.5. And she was wanting, and she was showing so much interest that she would help me with the preparing the food and just being around. And then she'd break fast with us, even though she wasn't fasting, but she would like not eat for an hour and go, Mum, I have been fasting for an hour and a fantastic meal. Let's just not think about the amount of drinks you've just had for the past hour or whatever. But it was just be like, oh, Mum, I'm just gonna have this biscuit. I'm still fasting. I was like, yeah, no, it's fine, crack on. But then I do explain to her that fasting isn't just about giving up food. It's about your behavior as well. So, you try to be a better person fasting. So try not to have the tantrums, try not to have the back chat, try to, and so she was doing those elements. So I was always rewarding on those elements because that is true. Fasting for the wider world is seen as just giving up food, but it's actually so much bigger than that. And I think that's the other thing that where lockdown for me has felt harder is because I'm quite passionate about wanting to teach Ariana how to learn the Quran myself rather than putting her in Quran school or a Quran teacher. Like there's loads of Skype things that you can put your kid on and sit in front of a laptop and learn. But I wanted to do myself. I remember my mum teaching me and then going to a Quran school afterwards. And I just always remember learning and thinking, even though I never thought I'd have kids, I always remember thinking, I'm going to teach my kids one day. Never put the two together and thought, hang on, I don't plan to have any. But anyway, it turned out I do have two, and I love teaching her how to read the Quran. But when I've spent a whole day homeschooling and then doing that as well, it's like, oh wow, because that's obviously the complete opposite. You're reading from the other side of the book, you're reading a totally different language, the sounds are completely different. It's an Arabic language, so a lot of the letters come from your throat, it's not like English. And so it's like, it's so different. Um, but it's something that, yeah, I am passionate about and
Mm.
I'm persevering with and teaching her. Even though I do, my mom keeps going, you could pay for someone to teach her on Skype. Yeah, no, it's not happening, mom. I'm not having her. Because for me, that's like, it's an hour that I'd have to sit with her because I'm not going to let her be on a call to a random stranger being taught the Quran. And I'm not casting aspersions on anyone else. I'm just saying that I think responsible parenting means you're there in the room when it's being taught on
Mhm.
a laptop. So if I'm going to do that, I might as well do it myself because I'm not going to spend an hour doing it. I'll spend 15, 20 minutes because I know a concentration span. I'm not going to do because you're being paid for an hour. She now needs to sit there for an hour.
Mm.
Seems illogical.
Yeah. And
Um,
I mean, I guess that's a nice bonding time for you and her together. And I guess it was the same for you and your mum when you were a child, that you spent that time together
mm,
learning something about your family and your culture and your religion, not
yeah.
just, okay, let's sit and watch the TV for the next 5 hours.
Exactly. I mean, I remember loads. My dad was such a positive influence of the faith. Like we've been taught the faith through the eyes of love, never through the stick. It was always love, love for God, love for the prophet, love for the faith, love for everyone who's gone through our faith. And so I always remember, it was never structured. Just suddenly we'd be sat there on a weekend, all of us together, and we'd be laughing and joking about something. And my dad would always be able to relate it to a story about the prophet or about the the apostles and everything and just link it all through and go, and then this is what this means, and you'd get the real life meaning of something and you'd learn, and it never feel onerous. It never felt like you're being talked down to. It was always love, and it just felt normal, like, and it was just really nice. And that's exactly the kind of thing that I kind of do with Ariana, as in just teach her little things. And like recently she's getting, obviously she's a 7-year-old girl and she spars with her dad a lot. And it's a case of I remind her of the attributes of the prophet's daughters. I go, they never back chatted. I said, I'm not saying you can be perfect, but you should strive to be that way. She's like, okay, mom, okay. And it's just like giving those kind of like hints and tips that help you be a better person. And I don't see there's anything wrong with that because everyone does it in their own way, but I can relate it back to our faith.
And yeah, that's amazing. Like you said, like, she's a girl. She's going to make mistakes. All children are going to make mistakes. You don't want a
Absolutely.
perfect child, but you want them to try and aspire to be like someone, something, a teaching, whatever it is that you
Yeah,
guys are teaching them.
exactly.
Is that hard to do in the current climate? Like the way, you know the Islam and Muslims are
Yeah,
portrayed in the media, which I mean, for me, it seems so far off. I mean, you know
yeah,
way more than I do about the
yeah.
religion, but I guess, teach me a little bit about like what. I mean, I think I know elements of it, but what's the bottom line of Islam? What is it like raising a daughter in the Islamic faith in the current world?
I think for me, forget raising. It's about being, right? Because if I want to teach Ariana something, the first way I'm going to teach it is by doing it myself. Because kids, as they say, they learn through watching, not by
Mhm.
being told what to do. So if I'm not doing it, she's never going to do it. So that's the first thing that for me. And I try to I try not to be influenced by what happens outside my door because I can't control that. I
Mm.
can't control what's happening in the media. I can't control what happens, post 9/11 and what everything went on. I couldn't control that narrative. because I didn't have that influence. But what I can control inside my house is raising a child that is tolerant of others, which is what my faith is about. People will preach about Islam. Islam means peace. So Islam is a religion of peace. But people are so quick to go, yeah, but it says in this piece that you should raise your sword, and you've got jihadists that are literally picking a line, and
Mm.
not everything else that goes around, but just one line and going, oh yeah, but it means this. Jihad is in the 5 pillars of Islam, and it means jihad of your heart. So being able to live in a Western world and not drink, not go out and be adulterous, all the rest,
Mhm.
being, and that's, and being, as the words are used, pious and all this, but trying to be the best version of yourself and not judging people. That's one of the biggest things, because it says there is no better judge than Allah. That's what it is, right? Okay.
Yeah.
You should not judge. And it's a case of, I always say, it says in one of the things the Prophet always said was, be kind to your neighbor. It doesn't say be kind to your neighbor if they're straight and Muslim. It says be kind to your neighbor, full stop. Therefore, if your Muslim leads a different way of life, you still have a responsibility to be kind to that person. And that's the bit that for me, is massively important, because people are so keen to label and judge and go, oh, well, because she's wearing a hijab, she should be like this, or because he's doing this, he's a Muslim and he's out drinking, he shouldn't do that. Yeah, but he's also a human being and he's finding his way in life, and who knows where he's going to end up. And everyone has their own path, and it's not right to be judging everyone all the time. But the media and social media now, things just get blown up so much. Social media has its positives and negatives. Positives that it can stand up for you, but negatives that when it wants to drag you down, it drags you as far down as you could ever go and more. But yeah, I don't know if I've answered your question there or not, but all I know is that for me, raising Ariana is no different to if I had a son, because our faith, Islam, teaches you that men and women are equal. And people again will pull that statement apart and say, oh yeah, but the Quran says this and the Quran says that. But in the raising, in the way of life, in the way of dress sense, people are quick to pick up that women in the Arab states are in burqas, but they forget that men are also in a long dress.
Mm.
Arab men are in exactly the same dress, just theirs is white and theirs is black, right? Men, the actual imams, the leaders of Islam, always have their head covered. But this is a big deal to make it about women. Yet they wear exactly the same thing. It's just in a different color. It's just in a different way. Face coverings is always something that has been debated, whether women are supposed to cover their face, whether they're supposed to have their niqab, whether they're supposed to, have just their eyes showing, or whether they have the whole face showing. Personally, I think it's probably one of those things that was a cultural thing, that because they lived in the Arab states where there was a lot of sand. Hello, what would you do? Cover your face, right? So because in the Quran, the key bit that it says is protect your modesty, and that's what it refers to, your modesty. And that's what gets discussed so much in depth. What is your modesty? What is that? What is that? What is that? And so I think if you want to nitpick at anything, you always can. But if you look at things through a holistic big view and go, what is it trying to say? It's trying to say, be kind, uh, try to be as much like the Prophet, because that's our leading example, and look at his life and try and live your life as close to that as possible. And then I'll go back to it. Be kind. There is nothing more important than be kind, to be tolerant to others and live your life, because we all, in faith, we all sin, right? Whichever faith it might be. There are sins, and we're all doing them knowingly and unknowingly. There'll be things that I say that might hurt someone. I don't know about it, but I've done it, and that's a sin, and I've done something that's wrong. But I haven't done it. If I was judged by those all the time, I wouldn't be able to lift my head off my pillow. Do you know what I mean? Because we were like, you've done things wrong all the time. So I say my philosophy is very much about just raising them to be aware of what they can control and not worrying about the things that they can't control. I can't control what's happening in Syria. I can't control what's happening in Palestine. I can have views on it. I can try to influence those people around me on it. But how far does that go? If I want to get actively involved in it, can. And if I think I can become, a member of parliament and make change, that's different. But on a day to day basis, what can I do for it? The only thing I can do is raise my kids in my household to be better people. To hopefully, when they go out, they can do that and hope the knock on and the domino effect keeps happening and
Mhm.
keeps happening.
Yeah, I mean, like you said there, I think every religion teaches that, right? Be kind, be tolerant of others.
Yeah,
That-
exactly.
That's Christianity. That's Islam. That's
Mm,
Judaism. I'm sure it's
yeah,
all other religions too. That's
yeah,
not exclusive to one religion. Everybody teaches the same thing, but it
exactly.
seems like everybody, not just even if you take religion out of it, there's this almost need for perfection now in the world. You have to be
Yes.
perfect, and if you make a mistake, you're
Yeah,
done. And
absolutely.
everybody holds people to such high standards, but then people expectations are here, but their own standard that they're living are kind of down here. And like you were saying, if you give Ariana and your other daughter that example that you're setting, and they
Yeah,
see that, then that's the example that they will follow, and that's how they'll live their life.
fingers crossed.
Well,
I mean, I'm not saying I'm perfect by a long shot, but I think you strive to be a better person each and every day, don't you? That should be the goal. It shouldn't be to chase down the next pay packet. It shouldn't be that. It should be, how can I be better every day? What tweaks can I make? And I think that's what I try. And it is exhausting. God, Joe, there's days where I just think, can I just sit and watch Netflix? That's all I want to do today. I just want to drink my Pepsi. I want to eat my chocolate, and I just want to watch a film. And I just
right.
want, and slowly, thankfully, as they're getting older, this Christmas we watched Home Alone and Home Alone 2. So we're getting over to films. Christmas with the Cranks, so we're getting there. But it is exhausting because you're right. The expectation from outside is perfection,
Hmm.
and that's just not attainable.
Yeah. The one thing I love about you guys as well is you kind of have your Islamic values, but you celebrate Christmas and you
Yeah,
celebrate other holidays as well. Like, you're not exclusively one or the other. You are, you grew up in Britain, well, Newcastle, right?
yes.
And like you kind of you just live. I don't want to use the word, but like, sorry for saying this.
I know. All right, I'll
You
say it.
know what I'm trying to say, right? I just can't get it
Yeah,
out.
no, okay. So it was one thing that I remember my parents quite clearly saying is that one of the things the prophet said is that you adapt to where you live. Okay. And if you're struggling where you are living, move and try somewhere else. Try somewhere else in the sense of if you're finding that your life isn't working in the UK, move to Canada, try, move around and
Mhm.
experience the world, because in other places you may feel that you connect better. But what the onus is on you to adapt. Now, adapt doesn't mean that you have to, you know, do everything that is what I would say Western compared to my faith.
Mhm.
So I'm not going to suddenly be out with the girls, whatever, however. But in the sense of, so I went to university. I did the club scene with my uni friends, did student unions and everything like that. But I can honestly, hand on heart, on camera, wherever, say I never ever touched a drop of alcohol because it wasn't my gig. I didn't need it to have fun. I was raised to be able to have fun without that. It wasn't a rite of passage thing for me and my family. So it was kind of like, I'm good. I can have fun and be with my girlfriends and have jokes. And even with the guy friends, all of us have no issue having laughs. But I don't need to do that one thing that I know would would just it would hurt my parents. Like if they ever found out, they'd be like, oh, it's disappointing because every parent has expectation of their children.
Mhm.
But I knew it was a fundamental that went against my faith. I knew I was strong enough not to do anything else. But if it just to me, you're not supposed to mingle. You're not supposed to go to clubs. You're not. But that's where the adapt line comes in.
Mhm.
That's where my dad was like, you can't live your life like like a perfect Muslim and try and go to university and do everything. You can, of course, you can. There are people who do it, but his expectation wasn't that of me, and my expectation is not that of my children. I want them to be able to appreciate the good of the English culture, because I love being English, you know? And
Mhm.
I love the fact that there's banter and there's, there's this thing about being English that where we were in America, the banter we had versus the banter to the American friends, it did they
Mhm.
couldn't latch it. They couldn't understand it because the English comedy is completely different. And I think that's the thing that is about my faith is mine, and it's for me and my kids and my family. But when I step out into the world, I am still part of the whole world whilst practicing my faith.
Mhm. Yeah,
you
I
know?
think no, that makes a lot of sense, and you're still yourself, but you're still part of the human race as well as
Yes.
family and your religion, etc. I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you about, is it Mecca? Correct? Is
Yep.
that right? You've been there before, right?
Yes.
I've only ever seen that on TV or online, and like the amount of people that you see in that space, everybody, do they walk around? Is that right?
Yes. So we
Just
do.
explain that to me, because whenever I see it, it kind of blows my mind.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
amazed by it.
So, that I think that is the thing that shows you how diverse and how accepting and how tolerant the Islamic faith is that you have. So in Hajj, which is the pilgrimage that you should try to do once in your life, and basically it's the retelling of what Prophet Abraham, or Ibrahim as we say it, did when he was around, and it's his journey, it's his pilgrimage that was repeated by us. And he and so up to 2 million people are in Mecca at one time, in the same place, doing the same thing, right? And you have to hand it to the Saudis because their logistics, their ability to plan, their ability to move that amount of people from one area of Mecca to another area within a space of 24 hours. 2 million people, Joe,
Crazy.
2 million people, right? They have buses upon buses lined up to take you like a 3-mile journey down to a place called Mina. And in Mina, they have so many tents, so many little campsites that, Joe, that is only used for 3 days in the whole year, right? And that
Does it stay there year
whole
round though?
space is empty otherwise.
But it stays the rest of the year.
It stays there the rest of the year, yeah. So
Right.
they've got
Okay.
permanent built camps. They've got air conditioning in those little, and they're not even huts. Where I stayed, it was literally like what do you call it? A marquee,
Mhm.
like literally like marquees. So they had the metal posts and the sheet on the top, and I think we had a portable aircon unit. Well, no, actually, because I went in February, so it wasn't that hot. And then you got the showers and the cubicles, and then from there they take you to another place, and then from there to another bit. And so yeah, and then the circulating of the Kaaba that they do, you do it 7 times, and you have to do that in Hajj as well. And so basically, that the engineering of that, the tile work right to the outside of the mosque is exactly the same. That people can do that circulation of the Kaaba just by monitoring the tiles, wandering around, and it's just like fascinating that you can be on the top floor of the mosque, not even able to see the Kaaba, but you know what you're doing based on the way they've built.
Mhm.
Obviously, it's in a circle, but at the same time, there's certain places where you're supposed to stop. And they've put lights up so you can see where that light is and you stop at that point. It's just, it's amazing. Every walk of life, every color, every race out there. So you've got everyone and every shape, every size. And, if anyone thinks that, oh, there's some sort of perfect size out there, no, there's not. Because when you're among 2 million people, you realize everyone is different. And everyone wearing the same thing. All the men in the 2 white towels, and all the women in, well, not the women's is a bit different, but the attire in the sense of being covered from head to toe is there, whether they'll be in black, white, red, whatever. But for Hajj specifically, it's 2 white towels. And yeah, everyone's doing exactly the same thing, exactly the same.
Because I've seen videos of it, and I mean, I never realized it was that many people. I've just seen them walking around, and I've thought that doesn't even look safe. There's so many people in what looks like such a small space, but like you said, it just flows.
It flows, and it flows to the extent that even when say like So you're doing the circles. Everyone starts at one point, but that's also the finishing point. So you do one, and then you do another, and you get to number 7, and then you have to leave while there's other people joining. And at that point, I'll admit that's probably the worst point to try and move. However, there's in from my understanding now, I've been going to Saudi for 38 years. Yeah, no, not 38 years, 32 years. 32 years that there's never been an instant of anyone being crushed or anything of there. Where there have been instances, has been down to when per se the stewards stop people, not in the mosque, but further in another location where they stop people, and people at the back don't know that they've been stopped, and the push and the push. And
Mhm.
so they've learnt lessons. They've learned so many lessons over the few years because the numbers have just increased so much that they've had to go, right, okay, we need this, we need this, we need this. And then have speakers and all sorts. And it's just so much more, it runs so much more efficiently,
Mhm.
and they do it so well, and they have respect to their guards. They like know so many different languages, and they've now got different people from. They'll have an Indonesian crowd, a Turkish crowd, a Pakistani crowd, an English crowd, so everyone that can speak a different language, and they know where they get most amount of Muslims coming from. So at certain times of the year, they'll get lots of people from the Philippines coming. At certain times of the year, they'll get lots of Turkish people coming. It's like knowing the holiday schedule and going, right, we know we're going to get this lot at this time. So that's the speakers we need then, type thing. But yeah, it's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
That puts going to Old Trafford into perspective when you think
Yeah.
you say only 76,000, but then you think of 2 million. It's just phenomenal. I can only imagine what it's like to experience something like that with so many people and everybody there for the same reason and almost like I think you said, pretty much dressed the same as well. So that just sounds incredible. Look, I'm conscious of time. I know you've got a young family and your husband's probably sat there waiting for you, like, come on, let's watch a movie or something like that. um, Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to just sit and chat. I feel like we could chat for another 3 hours, but we've both got things to do and families to
Yeah,
look after.
absolutely.
But thank you so much. Really appreciate you taking the time, and hopefully we'll actually get to see each other face to face
Yes.
at some point this year.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Well, thanks again. Love to the kids and to the husband, and hopefully I'll see you soon.
Yeah, take care, Joe.
See you later.
Thanks. Bye.